She walked into the grand lobby of a hotel she built with her own hands, her own vision, her own name etched into the walls. But instead of respect, she was met with cold stares and locked doors. Security guards moved in, treating her like an intruder. A black CEO denied entry into her own empire. In that moment, humiliation burned deep, but so did something far more powerful. What happened next wasn't just personal revenge. It became a statement the world could not ignore. The question is, how far would you go when stripped of your dignity in the very place you call yours? Her name was Maya Johnson, a woman who had built her success from the ground up. Born into a family that never had much, she fought through every barrier the world placed in her path, working late nights, chasing investors who doubted her and proving again and again that she was worthy of more than the limits others tried to put on her. Years later, she stood as the proud CEO of a luxury hotel chain, a symbol of resilience, hard work, and unshakable determination. Her hotels weren't just buildings. They were proof that dreams could rise from struggle, that dignity and success could belong to anyone willing to fight for it. For Maya, that hotel lobby wasn't just marble floors and shining chandeliers. It was a piece of her soul, a space that carried her name, her story, her sacrifices. Walking through those doors was supposed to feel like coming home, but on that day everything felt different. Whispers followed her. Eyes lingered longer than usual. Security seemed unusually tense. Something was about to happen, something that would not only test her patience, but also strip away the illusion of safety she thought she had earned. Maya stepped through the polished glass doors, expecting the familiar warmth of recognition. Instead, she was met with a wall of suspicion. The receptionist's eyes flickered with doubt, her smile tight and insincere. Within seconds, 2 uniformed security guards appeared, closing in on her as if she were a trespasser. "Ma'am, guests only," one of them said sharply, blocking her path. Her chest tightened. Guests? She wasn't a guest, she was the owner. The very person who had signed their paychecks, who had built this place brick by brick. Yet here she was, treated like a criminal for the simple reason that her skin didn't match the image of wealth or authority they expected. The lobby fell silent. Guests paused mid-conversation, their eyes darting between Maya and the guards. Whispers started, soft at first, then louder. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others smirked as though watching a scene they had seen too many times before. A black woman being put in her place. Maya's pulse pounded in her ears. She tried to speak calmly, tried to tell them who she was, but the guards didn't listen. Instead, they moved closer, herding her toward the exit as if her presence was some kind of threat. Each step backward was a cut into her pride, each shove a reminder that even her title of CEO couldn't shield her from the sting of racism. She looked around, searching for one face, just one, that would stand up for her. But silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. The people she had once thought of as customers, as community, as allies, simply watched. Some with pity, others with indifference. And then came the final insult. One guard grabbed her arm, firm and unapologetic, and pushed her out onto the street. The heavy glass doors slammed behind her, locking her out of her own creation. She stood there on the sidewalk, heart racing, face burning, staring up at the gleaming sign that bore her name, her hotel, her dream. And she was no longer welcome inside. Tears threatened to form, but anger surged stronger. This wasn't just about her pride. It was about every barrier she had broken, every sacrifice her family had made, every promise she had kept to herself that she would never again be silenced or made small. The humiliation was unbearable. But beneath it, something else was building, a storm of resolve, fierce and unstoppable. Because what those guards didn't know, what the staff inside hadn't realized, was that Maya wasn't powerless. She wasn't a guest. She was the boss, and the price of their cruelty was about to come due. But how she chose to respond would shock every single person who had just stood by and watched. Maya stood outside the glass doors, her reflection staring back at her like a cruel reminder of everything she had endured. The humiliation seared into her skin, but her silence lasted only seconds. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and dialed a number only a handful of people in the city could call, the direct line to her regional operations manager. Within minutes, her car pulled up. Her team stepped out, confusion on their faces turning quickly to fury as she told them what had happened. But Maya didn't waste time explaining. She marched back through those same glass doors, this time with authority that could not be denied. The lobby fell quiet again, but this silence felt different, charged, uneasy, as the staff realized who had just walked in. She didn't shout. She didn't scream. She simply pointed, one by one, at the guards who had touched her, the receptionist who had smirked, and the managers who had looked away. Each name was written down. Each face was marked. Their laughter, their whispers, their arrogance. It all evaporated as the weight of realization hit them. "You don't work here anymore," she said firmly. And just like that, the balance of power flipped. The very hands that had shoved her out now trembled, empty, powerless, stripped of the authority they had used to humiliate her. Guests watched in stunned silence. Phones recorded. Some clapped softly, others just stared, shocked that the woman they had seen as a stranger minutes earlier was, in fact, the boss, the owner, the one person whose respect they had all taken for granted. For Maya, this wasn't just revenge. It was a reckoning, a reminder that no matter how high she climbed, the ugliness of racism could still try to drag her down. But this time, it failed. And as the last staff member walked out the door, heads lowered, Maya turned to the crowd. Her next words would echo far beyond those marble walls. As the final echoes of footsteps faded from the lobby, Maya stood tall, not just as a CEO, but as a woman who had refused to be broken. She had reclaimed her place, not with anger but with authority, and in doing so reminded everyone watching that respect is not a privilege to be granted. It is a right. But the victory was bittersweet. Because Maya knew that this wasn't just her story. It was the story of countless black men and women who had built legacies, carried communities, and created opportunities, only to be told they didn't belong in spaces they had earned. Her humiliation was only one moment in a long history of discrimination that still lingers in boardrooms, hotels, schools, and neighborhoods. For Maya, that day became a turning point. She tightened her policies, retrained her staff, and used her platform to speak out against the very prejudice she had faced. The pain she endured became fuel for change, not just in her hotel but in the wider conversation about race and respect. And yet, the deeper question remains. Why does someone still have to prove their worth in a world they already helped to build? How many more stories like Maya's must unfold before society learns the simple truth? That dignity should never be determined by the color of your skin. Her revenge may have been brutal, but her message was even stronger. Racism has no place in the future we are creating. The question is, will we stand by and watch, or will we finally decide to change it?